Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. So today we're going to talk about my first quarter stats. And I have to tell you that Storygraph is keeping track of page count much easier. It isn't doing a great job for audiobook hours, so that's fine. I didn't have a page count or hours listened goal, but I don't have to worry about page count as long as I put what I've read in Storygraph. It tabulates pages, and I can just do it that way, and that makes it so much easier. So for the first quarter of 2024, my reading was much slower than it was, let's say, last year. That's okay. I read, according to the stats, I read 27 books in the first quarter, 6 of which were audio, for a total of 12,363 pages. So a lot of pages. And I'm not even sure that page count is accurate, because if Storygraph doesn't have some indie books, it doesn't tabulate them in the total. So I think the page count is off, and that's fine. I really don't care the number of pages I've read. It's an interesting number, but it's meaningless. So, and of the 24 books Dave picked, I have read a whopping 5. That is not a good number for Tammy. That number should be a little higher, in my opinion. Does not help that I really didn't read anything from him in January and February, so that number needs to be exponentially larger here very quickly. I have DNF'd one of those books. He's fine with that, so it's really 6 off the list, counting the DNF, which is a little better, but it still needs to be higher in my opinion. And I have subbed in at the end, by the end of March, I had subbed one book he chose for another book, just because he chose a book at the end of a series versus where I was in the series. So I subbed in the one where I was in the series. So, doing okay on the husband challenge. It needs to be a little higher in my opinion, but then again, I'm still laboring under the delusion that I have a chance of beating him by, the end of July. We will see how May goes, how April finishes out, but I have given myself grace to not finish by the end of July and not put myself in a reading slump because I feel forced into reading something. It's always important to remember to give yourself grace, to back off. It's just reading. It's not a life or death situation. So, how am I doing for reading challenges? That is a whole nother kettle of fish. So, first up is Jeanette's Christian Fiction Reading Challenge over at Jane Reads. I will link her down below. And her first prompt for January was start a series. I started the Windy City Saga series. The first book is Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. I didn't pull the book. It's at the top of the bookcase. Here's what it looks like. This was also the book club choice for January 2024. And I absolutely loved this book. I will absolutely finish the series. The next 2 books are sitting on my shelf as well. It is an emotional, gut-wrenching historical fiction, and it is an impactful read. I absolutely loved the faith. I absolutely loved the book, the characters, everything. Highly recommend. February, a past fave. As you know, I don't generally reread books. And Jane has 3 skips down below. So you can do a bonus, or you can sub in a bonus prompt for a prompt that doesn't work for you. However, the March book choice was Recorder by Kathy McCrum. And it's a pass fave for me. So I read it in March, but I'm using it for the February prompt. I'm sure Jeanette won't mind. And I was so pleased that everyone who read it for book club understands the depth of emotion that book evokes, and has fallen in love with Recorder and the series and Kathy's writing, and just now understands why the book ends up on so many lists for me time and time again, because it is a very impactful book. And the March prompt was set in a place you want to visit. I am going to choose the Chilbury Ladies Choir by Jennifer Ryan. I am not sure that this is marketed as Christian fiction. However, it involves the choir of a church in England during the beginning of World War II and England's involvement. And I listened to the audiobook for this one. There is choir singing in the audiobook. And while there is not what I would consider a lot of faith, it does take place and is centered around what's going on with the choir, and thus, community and church life. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if that doesn't work, I'm sure something else later in the year will work and I will sub it out. But for now, that's my choice. So, moving on to Katie's Read Around the World Readathon Challenge for 2024. The first book was a packing item on the cover. I am going to choose Double Take by Lynette Eason. This is a Christian Christian suspense. And the item I would pack on the cover is the jacket. And this is very good. It's the first book in a new series. This is a very quick, engaging romantic suspense that I could not put down. The next choice on the roadmap Katie set out is Mode of Transport on the cover. That would be Exile, which is the second book in the Keeper of Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. And the mode of transport is the Flying Unicorn. An orthodox pick, but she does actually fly it in the book. It is a mode of transport in the book, thus it fits the prompt. And the third prompt is character you would bring on a trip. And I'm going to choose Recorder from Recorder. Every character in the Recorder series, I would not every character. Every non-villainous character, I would bring with me. Their friendship and their found family and their love for one another and their unwavering support is just gorgeous. You don't want to hear me rave about Recorder yet again. So, there are several other reading challenges in here. I haven't gone through them all with a fine-tooth comb. I do know for the Tutorially Yours reading challenge, which has 8 prompts for the year. I have a couple of filled in. The 8th one is a suggestive seductress, a book recommended to you to be read right now. And that was on my shelf, within reach. The Women by Kristen Hanna. This was recommended to me by Amanda. She said, you need to read this. Go read it now. I did. I'm thankful. It is an excellent book. I highly recommend it. So, yeah, go pick up The Women. Library Lorelei. A book that will not be left behind at the library. That, for me, was The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. I am currently in the process of reading this one. It will probably be read by the time this video is released. And, you know, it's a book in the Cosmere. It's Sanderson. It was coming home with me. So that was easy. So I think that's where I'm at with the Sirens Reading Challenge for Tutorially Yours. Oh, first, another one. TBR Temptress, a book you own that is calling to you. And that would be... Let's see if I can get it here. Hang on. The Lord of the Rings trilogy by Tolkien. It is something I have wanted to read for a very long time, but at the same time, I haven't wanted to read it. I'm now going to read it. It's on Dave's challenge. I need to read it. I need to know. I may listen to it. I may read it physically. I may do both for the first time ever. So we shall see. But yes, that definitely fits this prompt for me very, very well. All right. And the last one I have filled out is for, I believe it's Books and Layla. I will link her challenge down below. And the January prompt was a book that has there in the title, and I chose And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This was an audiobook for me. I love me a good Agatha Christie. Cannot beat a locked room mystery, and this is definitely that. So, fit that one. February, a book with positive words on the cover. And I chose... Wow, it's not within easy reach. It usually is. I chose Counterfeit Love by Crystal Cadell. It has love on the cover. I loved this book. I have purchased the next two in the series. I need to find time in my schedule to read them here very soon. Do yourself a favor. Go pick up this series. And the March prompt was a character name on the cover, and that would be, let me get it. Never mind, I don't want to unpack the bookcase. That's Aragon by Christopher Paolini, and this is a middle grade fantasy. I loved it. It was a Dave book. I need to read the rest of the series and find out. And yes, so I'm up to date on that one. I am also making progress on the 52 book club reading challenge, but there are so many prompts. I will probably do a separate video for that and wait till later in the year when I have like half of them done as everything goes crashing to the floor. But yeah, I've filled in a lot of that, so we're making progress there. April has been a very up and down month of reading, but at the same time, I have managed to get a lot read, surprisingly. So we shall see. So that's how first quarter stats are going. Hasn't been bad, hasn't been great. But, you know, that's how quarters go sometimes. How was your first quarter of reading? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.